Before we start, here's a quick guide from Lord Garbelius. Please drop down in the description, give him your support, jump on his Patreon, check him out. Really good stuff. Thank you, Lord Garbelius. What's up, everyone? Soul here with another sort of Convallaria video. And today we're going to be talking about Miguel. I'm going to do a little guide on him, give you my thoughts, what I think he should do, how I think he should affect your gameplay, and how you can utilize him to better enjoy the game. So yeah, let's get right to it. So with Miguel, first and foremost, you have to acknowledge his character. I love the art. I love how they try to make his eyes as lifeless as possible. I really think that's cool. They really put a lot of energy into him, in my opinion. And he fits the type of character that I really enjoy playing and seeing in games, where he's just disheveled, tough, grizzled, been through it all, and just hard knocks from real world, hardships. And so, with that said, I think you have to acknowledge his character being of that ilk. And that means you should lean into that and play him as such. I think Miguel focuses on zone, control, debuffing, and cleaning up targets. And I think surviving is his motif. It's his whole thing. It's a shtick. He is a survivor despite everything. You see it in his story, and it's kind of in his kit, and you can see it. And we'll talk more about it. Let's look at his trait. Swiftness. Increase Miguel's attack by 5%, and he can jump over allies, enemies, neutral characters, and items without consuming movement. The effect can be activated one time per round. I think this is hilarious. I use this with Glorious Spear, or Banner, I'm sorry, and he even jumped over that. I thought that was entertaining because it's massive. But anyways, as you can see, it progressively gets stronger. At 2 stars, you can use it twice per round. And then at 3 stars, he gets 1 energy back when he does use it. And then at 3 stars, 3 times per round. And then yeah, at 5 stars, he inflicts Scorch on any and all instances of physical damage that he inflicts. Really, really nice. I like that. I really want to get him 5 star. I just like the character a lot anyways, but that seems really, really cool and really, really nice. So let's look at his ranks. So first up, at rank 1, you have Healer's Bane on the left. Before a single target attack, he gains 50% chance to inflict no healing on the target for 2 turns. It's not bad. But on the right, you got Intuition. It's a passive. Damage taken is reduced by 20%. For me, this is what I went with. He's all about surviving and staying alive, and so I went with this. But there's really not too many times where I've even thought to want to use this. But this is definitely a nice thing to have in your pocket. Rank 3, you've got Flaming Shot. This could be worth a Castalia. I didn't pick it up. It's not how I play him, but I definitely can see the benefit. He's all about zone and control in those flaming shots and creating fire terrain. It does that. Of course, it has 70% AoE damage. And as you see, 40% fire AoE damage is also dealt, so it turns those tiles into fire tiles if they're capable of doing so. So this is really good for zoning and controlling because, as you know, fiery terrain have a higher movement cost, and it helps minimize the movement of your enemies. On the right is what I would suggest you to get, and that's Bounty Hunting. It's a support ability Miguel locks onto one enemy for 3 turns. Whoever defeats the target recovers 2 energy. Before allies land an active attack on the marked enemy, they gain 2 random level 2 buffs for 1 turn. So he basically puts a bounty on somebody, and they go get them, and then the reward is to get some energy. I like this a lot. There's definitely some good benefit there. Now at rank 5, you have Highland Advantage on the right. When hit by an active attack, the damage taken is decreased by 8%. When attacked by an enemy from low land, the damage is additionally decreased by 30%. That's good and all, but I like, on the left, Protective Razor. So this is the reaction over here. Before receiving a melee attack from the front or side, Miguel performs a strike back and inflicts 2 level 2 attribute debuffs and deals 50% physical damage to the enemy. This effect lasts for 2 turns and can be activated once per round. I find that this is triggered often. Miguel is often targeted by enemies. It could be because, of the meme, he's weak, but use that to your benefit, and he does get smacked quite often. He triggers that, and he's actively debuffing people for free. So it's really, really good. It synergizes really well with Meteor Line because it's a debuff from that as well, which is triggered, which is double the debuffs for just a simple strike back. At rank 7, You got Blinding Powder on the left. It's a support ability. It's an instant. Miguel inflicts blind and damage down 2 on all enemies within a 3x2 area of the target's direction, lasting for 1 turn. Of course, that's a damage reduction of 20%. And then they have an 80% chance to hit with single target attacks. AoEs do not get affected by this, sadly. However, that blind is still really good. I find I really enjoy it, and I use it often. And then the fact that it's instant is just stellar too. There's a 4-turn cooldown. That kind of stinks. If you got Coco, it doesn't really seem that bad with 3 turns. It goes by quickly. On the right, you've got World Drifter, which is leader aura. Of course, all drifters get a 15% attack bonus and then a 30% defense bonus. It's a good, decent aura. I think it's worth the stallion to pick up. Now at rank 9, you've got 2 basic attacks as options. Filthy Blade on the left, single target attack. Miguel deals 100% physical damage. When it becomes a back attack, the damage dealt is increased by an additional 20%. His attack also inflicts level 2 debuffs on the target that lasts for 1 turn. The fact that those debuffs last for 1 turn turned me off from trying this ability first and foremost, and I went with what was on the right, which I'll come back to the left and talk about in a minute. But anyways, and that's Firebomb. It's a basic attack. Miguel fires a curved shot at the target, dealing 80% fire AoE damage. And so if they're on a terrain that can be ignited by fire, this basic attack is doing that. It's creating fire terrain. I saw that and I was like, I gotta get that. That's massive. Not only that, but you can just target the terrain without a target on the terrain. So targeting the tile itself, the ground, and lighting it ablaze with this basic attack. Super duper great. Can't say enough good things about it. And I really enjoy it. And of course, when you ignite that terrain, it scorches the enemy. This attack will not scorch the enemy unless the terrain is then turned into fire. And the terrain will not be turned into fire unless it's able to be turned into fire. So stone terrains will not ignite with Firebomb. With that said, I, to this day, still have not picked up Filthy Blade because I really don't like how much movement you have to utilize to get behind the opponents more often than not, and it really exposes Miguel. I really want him to be in positions where he can be struck, but I don't want him to be completely overwhelmed and flanked by multiple strikes at once. And so I stay away from Filthy Blade, and I'm very much pleased with Firebomb. I've enjoyed it a lot. At rank 11, you have Place Trap. This is a support ability where you're placing a beast trap and the character can move again by 2 tiles and inherit the remaining movement. This is really, really good. I haven't spent the stallion on it, but I probably will at some point. Who knows, when I come across content that requires it. Just to have this trap ability on a legendary unit, I think is really good. I've definitely enjoyed it on the common and rare units and epics. And then on the right, you have Mourner. This is his big shot, and this is physical damage. Miguel targets the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th tiles in the specific direction, with each of his hits dealing 40% fire AoE damage to enemies within a 3x3 area. So, as it says, when he hits a target, they each explode with a 3x3 tile attack. So it's multiple explosions. People are saying that Miguel's not strong. When I lose this ability, I kind of got frustrated with it at first because it wasn't igniting terrain the way I wanted it. But then I just had to acknowledge that not all terrain can be ignited. It just is what it is. However, those multiple bursts of explosions is pretty phenomenal. I really, really like it. If you build everything around this, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's got a 2-turn cooldown. It has a 4 energy cost. It's a little bit high, but everybody's running Coco. So you basically use this every other turn. And at 3 energy, I mean, it's pretty dope. I really, really enjoy it now and like it now. And, you know, it will turn fire terrain, all terrain into fire, even if it's your allies standing there and it doesn't deal damage directly to them. It will still blow up and turn those terrains into fire, just a heads up. And so you will ignite your own allies on fire. But it is a phenomenal ability. Great for zoning and controlling, and does decent damage too. Now, with all of that said, we got one more attack to talk about, and that's one that he starts with, and that's Brutal Kick. This is a physical damage, single target attack. Miguel deals 100% damage and knocks the target back by 2 tiles. If they survive, he'll inflict move down 2 and which will last for 2 turns, and then he'll activate Pursuit, which deals 50% physical damage and knocks the target back by 1 tile additionally. Now, if you have a weapon, like let's say, Whale Hunter, it will not inflict 2 stacks of infection. That Pursuit does not inflict a stack of the trait. It doesn't take that knock-on effect from the weapon. And so that's true of the Whale Hunter, and that's also true of the Meteor line. And so it only affects the first hit where he kicks. With that said, this is great. You're knocking back enemies big time. It gives you a lot of options in controlling and zoning those enemies, which, remember, that's what he's all about, in my opinion. And so it's a phenomenal skill that he just starts with for free. So let's talk about his weapons. For me, I really like the melee mega crossbow as his best in slot. I have Miguel going in and around the opponents and staying right on the front line, always kind of baiting a strike. I want those strike backs to go out. I want them to be targeted and to be hit by 1 or 2 enemies. And so the melee mega crossbow is fantastic because it gives them really good consistent damage. I'm not upset about Miguel's damage, by the way. Some people are talking about how he's just not that great. Sure, he's not blowing people up for 20,000 every single hit, but man, what he does for your party as far as controlling the scene, helping debuff and things like that, and then doing consistent damage is really good in my opinion. And this melee mega crossbow helps get that across the line. I think the second best choice for him is Star Ray crossbow. This increases crit rate by 8%. If it's a single target attack, it deals crit damage. There's a 60% chance to additionally deal 20% physical damage as piercing damage to the target. So it's a pretty decent option. Does pretty decent damage. And then of course those single target attacks, which is his skill Brutal Kick, and then his basic attacks, it will proc there and it will do some pretty decent stuff for him. And then I think his third best in slot is Longbow of the Martyrs, and that's because he is a debuffer. He is doing that for your party, so let him go in there, let him get those strikes, let him get those hits, and then inflict them with that debuff where they take a 10% additional damage. I think that's a great choice. So those are my 3 weapons for him. Let's talk about Trinkets. Now for Trinkets, I think his best in slot is Crystal Burst Armor. I really like that additional HP. I like that it gives him some additional damage back on the strike back. That's not the main thing that I'm really enjoying about it. I just like that additional HP. And then that strike back bonus is definitely a plus. I think he needs to be focused on survivability. And so if you don't run this and it's harder content, either one, I think his next best choice and potentially best choice and harder content is Mystery Guardian. Now, I don't have multiple copies of this and whatnot, but if you do, fantastic and phenomenal. Throw it on him. Don't think twice about it. When attacked by the front, he gains 25% physical bonus, physical defense bonus, and then he can't be debuffed in his defensive stat. I think it's a phenomenal item. It makes him good and healthy and hardy, and allows him to take those hits even better. And then, of course, Unique Coat is my third option, which does more of the same, reduces physical damage by 30%. There's nothing wrong if you want to throw in Rejection Mask. However, the last thing I would recommend, which is something I actually didn't give good praise in my tier guide, go check it out if you haven't, is the Spring Pill. I think this item does fairly decent on Miguel because he's going to be taking damage. That's his purpose. You want him getting the strike backs. He's going to be in and around the opponent. And so this is a little way to get that health back and the help. And so for me, this is his 4th choice item for him, in my opinion. Now let's talk about those Tarot Whispers. Now, when I told you is Miguel, in my opinion, his job is to stay around the enemy team, to stay on the front line, to get target on occasionally, but only by 1 target at a time, if possible, and zoning controlling them. And so I love Judgment on him. This, at the end of your turn, dispels 2 buffs on the enemy, which is great. The enemy within 2 tiles of the character. It's fantastic. However, from 1 random enemy, if you have the hidden effect unlocked, it will dispel 2 attributes from 1 random enemy within 2 tiles, doubled up on that, right? And then it also inflicts Judgment for 2 turns. Judgment is an additional 10% damage taken on that target, just like Longbow of the Martyrs. Really, really good. I like that. And so I don't use longbow. I use this instead, and I get that same effect. And I really, really like it on him because he's up there, he's in their face, he's stripping their buffs, and he's debuffing them just from being near them. And so for me, this is his best in slot, the way how I like to play him. For me, number 2 is a Terror Whisper that probably no one uses, hardly, is Gibbous Moon. At the end of the turn, he recovers 20% HP if the character's injured. Well, I mean, that's phenomenal on him because he's taking hits, and he's not the most hardy character in the game, but he is a little resilient, and this allows him to get that health back for free. And he's not supposed to be taking multiple hits. He's not a tank. You don't want him getting hit 3, 4, 5 times. You want him to get hit once, maybe twice, get him out. And that movement, him being able to jump over people, he's meant to get out as soon as it's his next turn, or as soon as he can. Blind if you have to stay and you can't move, kick him out, knock him back, and then get out, you name it. And so he's getting health back for free with this tarot. I think it's very much decent on him. After that, I would suggest Devil, the Devil Tarot. It's nothing wrong with this one. The more enemies you kill, the more you're going to get buffed up, and it of course works to his advantage. Everybody loves this tarot. It's phenomenal. Now on maps where there's not a lot of enemies, it doesn't really do a lot for you, so then it's not a good option. And another good option to replace it with in those situations, if you're running that or prefer that, is Raise of the Sun. And so this goes along with him picking off enemies. There often will be enemies that are low health, or maybe a third of their health left, or maybe even half, and you want them to get out of the way, you want them gone, and you don't want to necessarily spend the turn killing them with your big hitter. Well, that's where Miguel comes in. He cleans them up, he picks them off. And so, he is a merc. He's he's the nasty, he's the guy that does the dirty jobs. And so this allows him to do that and do it better. And of course, with that hidden effect, he's ignoring 20% additional defense on top of the 20% defense you would ignore anyway. So really, really good in my opinion. So that's what I would suggest with Miguel. I'm going to say it again just so everybody knows it, because I'm a little over the top with it all. Miguel focuses, in my opinion, on zone, control, debuffing, and cleaning up enemies. He is not your heavy hitter. He's not the guy that comes in and just lays everyone out. He is not August. He is going to pick off enemies in and around the team. He is going to circle around the front and help you control and zone those enemies. He creates another level of gameplay that is tactically inclined. You're not just throwing the sink at them and trying to just destroy everybody and one-shot them. And in some content, you can't do that. Miguel is the guy that helps you get across the line when you have to think and outmaneuver your opponents. And they're really hard content. He has a lot of value, in my opinion. I think he's highly underrated, and that's after using him for quite a while now. I've been running him a lot these past few days since I pulled him, and I have loved him every single bit. He has not disappointed me. He's done exactly what I thought he would. So yeah, I digress. Thanks for watching. I hope your Sword of Convallaria gameplay is going well, and I wish you luck in everything you try to do. If you can, drop me a like and a subscribe. I will be launching a Patreon soon for those that want me to pull on these extra units and so on and so forth. My logic is I should ask for that help, because I can't just afford to go and drop tons of money on the game, certainly, especially not even making anything. And so if you feel inclined or you feel interested and you want to put something into the hat to help me do that, I will utilize those funds to pull those characters, to try to get them all, and to try to get guides and coverage on all of them. If you don't want to, or if you're offended I asked, forgive me. I'm just putting it out there. Thanks so much for watching. Take it easy. Catch you next time. Bye.